My Hero Academia is a series that wants to end and wants to end itself as quickly as possible with as many cool moments as possible. This is what I've come to realize after reading the most recent chapter and many chapters before it at this point. Many people have their gripes with the series, and I honestly think that they could all come down to this one fact. It's abandoned what it once was as a series, and I'm not saying it's all bad because it's not, and I do enjoy a lot of it, but I definitely don't feel like it's living up to the potential that it could have had, and I'm just going to explain why in this video. To begin, the first time I noticed this shift in the My Hero Academia story was at the end of the first original war arc 100 or so chapters ago, when after the highly anticipated and greatly executed Dabi/Toya reveal occurred, it seemed like everything afterwards just fell apart towards the end of the war arc. Some examples of this are Mirio showing up out of nowhere. We get a brief explanation as to why he has powers, but he essentially shows up, we don't know where he was the rest of the battle. And yeah, it's a cool cliffhanger for the chapter, I guess, but that's pretty much all it is just eye candy. On top of this, all of a sudden, Best Genius is actually alive, which means Dabi's plan wasn't as well thought out and meticulous as it seemed to be. This really undermines his whole plan to take down Hero Society with exposing the number 1 and 2 heroes, that being Hawks and Endeavor. Endeavor for his abuse towards Dabi and his family, and then Hawks for killing twice and also killing Best Genius. So that was disappointing, and then on top of this, furthermore, right at the end, we get Mr. Compress's backstory out of nowhere, and he has a moment just to have a moment. Like, why would anyone care about this random backstory after Dabi's long, drawn-out, methodical one? Like, cool, it comes out of nowhere and he gets a moment, but now he hasn't been mentioned in the story ever since. He wasn't broken out of jail, he survived for some reason. And this just first really started showing me, okay, maybe the series isn't going where I thought it was. Out of the 3 that I just mentioned, I think Mirio seemed the most pointless because what did he do in that war arc? Not much. I mean, he offered some more fighting power, but that's about it. And now in the current war arc, he's still really not doing too much. He's helping out a little bit, but I feel like he's just there. So, okay, we have a character with his power. It doesn't really feel like he has real purpose in the story outside of the purpose kind of just forced upon him. And for a character as cool as him, I feel like that's really disappointing. Well, it's still bad. I wouldn't say that the Mr. Compress moment was as disappointing because his character wasn't really set up to do too much or have too much importance, in my opinion, at least in the story. So him getting this out of place moment just randomly thrown in there just seemed more silly than anything. It was less so disappointing and just there. Real quick, if you are still watching, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe. If you don't want to, it's fine, but I just figured I'd put in this little reminder. So yeah, back to the rest of the video. I think these moments kind of show the shift in My Hero Academia's whole philosophy from its old way of building up things and slowly planting them throughout the story for satisfying payoffs to just cool moments and then throw in explanations afterwards just to try to make it make sense. Things are no longer being slowly built up and then paying off because the series is just rushing to finish itself, and I don't want to speculate why that is. I don't know Horikoshi's personal problems or if there's anything going on with him or if it's a publishing issue, but whatever it is, it's clear that the story is rushing to its finale much sooner than it should have ended. Following the original war arc, the issues just got worse in my opinion, and 2 that I'm going to bring up are the fact that Gran Torino survived being impaled by Shigaraki, which I'll talk more about in a second, as well as the extremely rushed and underwhelming prison break, and one of the worst things to come from that is Overhaul. Well, I don't want to speak too prematurely on the whole overall situation and how little he actually had to do after being broken out of prison. He pretty much just mumbled around and did absolutely nothing before being caught again by Deku. And while I do like the two's conversation and how Chisaki still doesn't even think to apologize to Eri and just thinks of how he can use her quirk if she was there and how he only cares about apologizing to the boss and all, I don't have much confidence that anything is actually going to come from him at this point because I feel like a lot of plot threads seem to be being dropped or just kind of wrapped up really sloppily. So if this is the end of a character that was as cool as Overhaul and had the entire Overhaul arc dedicated to fighting him, this is going to be really disappointing. As for the aforementioned Gran Torino, it's more of a question of for why does he survive his impalation, if that's a word, by Shigaraki. It looked pretty fatal in the moment. It played off as if it was fatal, like it really seemed like he was dying there, and then he just survives for some reason, but he doesn't do anything else in the story so far. He has a brief talk with Deku about how sometimes killing someone is like saving them essentially, but okay, that could have been said by other people kind of, or could have been said by him before he dies. Maybe he's died since then, we don't really know. This moment and Gran Torino surviving here really hurts the stakes of the story, and so does Hawks magically having his quirk back after it seemed like whether or not he was gonna die or not to Dobby, he was at least gonna lose his quirk. Not even like the bones or anything were just left, it was all burned off. But yeah, now he's pretty much has his quirk back and it's working fine, and it just hurts his feeling of stakes for the story that once was so high. And with the recent Bakugo development and the Gene Heart, which I've already made a few videos on if you want to go watch them, that just further hurts the stakes of the story. I just wanted to clarify, there's nothing necessarily wrong with these cliffhangers that make you really excited to come back and read the next chapter, but when they're happening just for the sake of the cliffhanger, and then they're being explained away really poorly just for the sake of trying to justify it, it feels very disappointing and cheap. Moments like the explosion in the Dark Deku arc that literally amounts to nothing, in the next chapter everyone's fine, and we don't even get to see how Deku saved everyone. It just doesn't feel like what made me personally love My Hero Academia, and what I feel like made a lot of people love this series. There's also moments like Tamaki's big attack in one of the recent chapters, which again amounted to nothing. They're hyping it up the whole chapter, and then it's just quickly brushed over, barely did any damage, and it just feels very disappointing. Yeah, though, that's about it for this video. I feel like I've gone over the majority, except Aoyama and the traitor thing, which was also disappointing. But anyways, I'm still reading the series, and there's still good moments, and I hope it ends pretty well. I hope for the best, and please comment below your thoughts, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.